Good morning. The April 2nd, 2019 meeting of the Douglas County Board of Commissioners will come to order, and we are pleased to have with us here our Chief Appraiser, Mr. Benny Waldrop, here with us to lead us in our invocation. After the invocation, please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Almighty God, our Heavenly Father, we come to you with grateful hearts today, thankful for all the blessings of life. We thank you for the opportunity we have today to come and participate in county government. We ask your blessings upon our Board of Commissioners, dear Lord, that they might make the decisions that's in accordance with your holy will for our county. Dear Lord, especially to be with those that are sick and hurting today, be with loved ones who are facing difficulties. And where we can help people, dear Lord, in times of sickness, in times of death, in times of financial difficulty, in times of hurt, help us as individuals, help us as the county, help us as churches and communities to do all we can to help. Dear Lord, now we love you and praise you and thank you for this meeting. Go with us through this time and all the rest of the days this week and then all the rest of the days of our lives. Help us to be faithful in service. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Chief Appraiser Benny Waldrop. Thank you so much for being here this morning, and also good morning again to Douglas County and also to all the citizens that are here. We are delighted that you joined us this morning, and we appreciate your participation in local government. Public comment, Clerk, I believe you said we have two citizens who have signed up for public comment. And before I bring you up, I would just like to thank the two citizens who signed up for public comment. Thank you for participating and advocating in county government. I ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes, and then when you come forward, I will call your name, and if you could just state your address and anything you say today, this matter will be taken under advisement. First, we have Mr. Larry Pierce. Mr. Pierce, please come forward. Are you here? Well, there you are. And you are focusing on tab number 11 today because, you know, all items must be germane to the agenda. And so you said number 11. That's what you're focusing on. So it's the DA's office.
Good morning, Madam Chair.
Good morning.
Council people, and our citizens. Out of due respect, I'm going to put my hat on backwards because I want these people to see who I am. Now, Larry Pierce, 4120 Van Sant Road, Douglasville, Georgia. That was the most interesting yesterday that I've had in a long time. It was good things, people needing things, people needing money, and everybody wants a piece of the pie. Now, when old grandma made a pie, she cut it in about 6 pieces, and she forgot there's 2 relatives coming that wasn't invited, so there's 8. Well, as I know her as Ann Jones, but she has another name now, but Miss Jones said, you can't give everything to everybody. But Mr. Ryan Leonard, the DA, he's doing some good thinking. He said, if one man retires that's making $100,000, let's divide it and bring 2 people in new. So all he needs to bring 2 people in is $20,000, $22,000. That's chicken feed. And here's the reason it's chicken feed. And you know I can't pass up a time to talk about the corner. The corner's man, Mr. Axley, in January, made for the month $5,400. In February, he made $6,400. And in March, he made $7,400. Now, let me tell you how that's done.
Mr. Pierce, that's really not germane to the agenda now. You were focusing on number 11. and
Number
I
11 is
granted you
about
that
money.
time. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, and I'm telling you how to get money.
Okay,
May I?
keep going.
Okay. If somebody watched the budget of the corner, I know that money that she has isn't very much. But every few months, she's coming around like the relatives that wasn't invited. She wants 2 more pieces of the pie. And it's y'all's job to dish the pie out. And it's my job and our job to raise, well, put it sensible, Cain. And I'm here to raise Cain because somebody's not doing the job, and it's not your job to watch what someone does. The trust in government is there. When somebody doesn't do their job, it's time to kick, and I'm not going to say the last word. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Pierce. We'll take your concerns under advisement. Next, we have Professor Tomasky, John Tomasky. Please come forward and state your address and give us your subject matter. Your subject matter is number 7. You would like to talk about the Douglas County Code of Ordinance related to the community and feral cats. Please come forth and please state your name. Restate your name and address, please. Thank you.
John Tomasky, 6000 Stewart Parkway, Douglasville. Madam Chairman, since the lady has arrived, I would prefer to defer to Cheryl to speak on this matter. Would that be permitted?
Cheryl didn't sign up, Mr. Tomasky. You
Oh,
did.
okay.
So could
Well,
you carry the message?
I would like to leave with you some literature Cheryl has left.
You could give it to our clerk.
Thank you. And for myself, I know of one person who lives on a fairly large wooded lot in Douglas County. It's a really sort of a country area, although it is on the urban, what's called the urban side of the county. And this lady would like to have about 6 or more cats, but she would prefer to get them free of the cost of neutering and such. So if there is any availability that meet those criteria, I would appreciate knowing it that I could pass the information on to her. And that would conclude my remarks, except to wish everyone here a good morning and good remaining part of the day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, to Mr. Tomasky. Good morning to you as well, and also to the citizens of Douglas County. I appreciate you. And then Ms. Cheryl will have an opportunity, if she would like to, during our public hearing. This will be a public hearing when I get to that point.
Okay, and she could leave her literature with the court clerk?
Yeah, the clerk already has the papers. She already received
Oh,
them.
thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Next, Board of Commissioners, we have the approval of the minutes. You have the minutes of the commission meetings of March 19, 2019, and you have the work session minutes of March 18, 2019, and you have the executive session minutes of March 18, 2019. Are there any corrections, additions, or deletions that need to be made?
No, ma'am.
Being none, the minutes stand approved as presented. Proclamations, we have proclamations today. We have 3 Board of Commissioners, so we will have several photo shoots this morning with our proclamations. Tab number 4, proclaiming the week of April 7 through 13, 2019, National Crime Victims' Rights Week, honoring our past, creating hope for the future. And Lisa, I don't have her name on the program. You wrote it on here? And I'm so sorry. If you could state your name.
I'm Lauren Burden. I'm from the Douglas County District Attorney's Office.
Okay, thank you, Lauren.
Whereas this commemorative week celebrates the energy, perseverance, and commitment that launched the victims' rights movement, inspired its progress, and continues to advance the cause of justice for crime victims. Whereas crime can leave a lasting impact on any person, regardless of age, national origin, race, creed, religion, gender, sexual orientation, immigration, or economic status. Whereas incorporating communities' existing experts and trusted sources of support into efforts to fully serve survivors will develop a criminal justice system response that is truly accessible and appropriate for all victims of crime. Whereas with the unwavering support of their communities and victim service providers behind them, survivors will be empowered to face their grief, loss, fear, anger, and hope without fear of judgment, and will feel understood, heard, and respected. Whereas honoring the rights of victims, including the rights to be heard, to be treated with fairness, dignity, and respect, and working to meet their needs rebuilds their trust in the criminal justice system. Whereas the National Crime Victims' Rights Week provides an opportunity to recommit to ensuring that all victims of crime, especially those who are challenging to reach or to serve, are offered appropriate services in the aftermath of crime. And whereas the Douglas County District Attorney's Office is hereby dedicated to strengthening the victims and survivors in the aftermath of crime, building resilience in our communities and our victim responders, and working for a better future for all victims and survivors. Therefore, let it be resolved that the Douglas County Board of Commissioners proclaims the week of April 7th through the 13th, 2019 as Crime Victims' Rights Week, and reaffirm this county's commitment to creating a victim service and criminal justice response that assists all victims of crime during the Crime Victims' Rights Week and throughout the year, and to express our sincere gratitude and appreciation for those community members, the victim service providers, and criminal justice professionals who are committed to improving our response to all victims of crime so that they may find relevant assistance, support, justice, and peace. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lauren. Certainly, the Board of Commissioners appreciate what our District Attorney, Ryan Leonard, and his amazing staff are doing to put their arms around crime to see what we could reduce and protect the citizens of Douglas County, and not only citizens of Douglas County, just citizens in Georgia at large. So you all do a huge amount of work. I visit quite often. They come up and say hello, and I respect everything that you all do to protect the victims of crime here in Douglas County. Board of Commissioners, you have heard this resolution, this proclamation. Do we have a motion to approve?
So move. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Vice Chairman Robinson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just for clarity, because that's good, and when you say, can you just clarify us, Laura? So what is a crime? And again, you're coming from the District Attorney's Office, so I'm assuming felony, and this is for the public at large, not necessarily for me. I already know the answer. But what is it that when you say crime victims, those are 7 deadly sins, that we want to be there and support during trials, after trials? What does this really mean, support services of crime victims? Can you explain?
What we are celebrating are the crime victims of all felony crimes. We have different crimes that have victims. We help all victims, not just the 7 deadly sins. Yeah. Simple theft, financial card fraud. We help all victims in our office. We help them from the initial bond hearing all their way through the case, and even once a case closes either by plea or trial, our victim advocates still help them afterwards during their probation, and if the defendant gets on parole, we also notify them that. So we're there for them through all steps of the healing.
Whole phase, okay. That's all I want to do is get clarity. I won't belabor it. Thank you so much, Madam Chair. I yield.
Thank you so much. Any other discussion? We have a motion and a second. Please prepare to cast your votes, Board of Commissioners. We have a 5-0 unanimous vote, and the motion carries. Congratulations, and we would like to come down and take photographs, and anyone here supporting this amazing effort, and I see the DA
Yes, we
back
do
there
have
as
our
well,
office
and staff,
here.
in your office. We'll come down and take a photograph with you, okay?
Thank you.
They let anybody does pictures, huh? I'll take you up there sometime.
All right, Board of Commissioners, we'll move on to tab number 5, proclaiming the week of April 14th through 20th, 2019 as National Public Safety Telecommunications Week in Douglas County, and that will be read by our Director, Greg Whitaker. Good morning,
Good
Director.
morning. I have a proclamation. Whereas emergencies can occur at any time that require police, fire, or emergency medical services, and whereas when an emergency occurs, the prompt response of police officers, firefighters, and paramedics is critical to the protection of life and preservation of property, and whereas the safety of our police officers and firefighters is dependent upon the quality and accuracy of information obtained from citizens who telephone the Douglas County Communications Center, and whereas public safety telecommunicators are the first and most critical contact our citizens have with emergency services, and whereas public safety telecommunicators are the single vital link for our police officers and firefighters by monitoring their activities by radio, providing them with information and ensuring their safety, and whereas public safety telecommunicators of Douglas County have contributed substantially to the apprehension of criminals, suppression of fires, and treatment of patients, and whereas each dispatcher has exhibited compassion, understanding, and professionalism during the performance of their job in the past year, therefore be it resolved that the Douglas County Board of Commissioners declares the week of April 14th through April 20th, 2019 to be National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week in Douglas County in honor of the men and women whose diligence and professionalism keep our citizens, our city and citizens safe. Signed the second day of April 2019.
Thank you so much, Director Whitaker. And on behalf of the Board of Commissioners, we appreciate what goes on in your operation. I've been there. It's quite impressive to see the responses via telecommunications and to see all your professional staff pick up and respond to some extreme emergencies, some that are not, some are moderate, but it's quite impressive. So thank you for what you do and your entire team. Board of Commissioners, you've heard the proclamation. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on any particular item? We have a motion and a second. Please prepare to cast your votes. We have a 5-0 unanimous vote. The motion carries. Congratulations. Do you have anybody here with you, Director Whitaker? You along? You want to come up and take?
Jason would like to come up.
Yeah, I didn't see. There they are, first responders as well. Thank you so much, Chief Scott Spencer and Director Milholland, for what you do as well during our emergencies here in Douglas County. You are most appreciated. So if you all could just come up to the stage, I'm going to give you a little exercise this morning. Don't mind.
Got it.
Again, thank you so much, Director Whitaker and Chief Spencer, and also Director Milholland, for your heroic acts every day for protecting us and this, all of us, the citizens of Douglas County. We truly appreciate you. Thank you. Our next proclamation we have is proclaiming the month of April 29th as Boys and Girls Club Month in Douglas County, and that will be read by Breezy Strayton, our Director of Workforce Development. How are you this morning?
I'm well. How are you?
Oh, good.
I am also the board chair of the Douglas County Boys and Girls
Yes.
Club, so I will read the proclamation as written. Whereas the young people of Douglas County are tomorrow's leaders, and whereas many young people need professional youth services to help them achieve their full potential. Whereas the Douglas County Boys and Girls Club serves more than 200 young people annually, and whereas Boys and Girls Clubs instill young people with the self-confidence to believe they can succeed at anything they put their mind to and stand at the forefront of efforts in the areas of academic success, healthy lifestyles, and leadership. And whereas Boys and Girls Club organizations in Georgia help ensure young people have a safe, supportive place to spend time and will provide them with quality youth development programs. And now, therefore, the Douglas County Board of Commissioners hereby proclaims the month of April 2019 as Boys and Girls Club Month in Douglas County, Georgia. Furthermore, we encourage all citizens to join us in recognizing and commending Boys and Girls Clubs in Georgia for providing the young people of our communities with comprehensive and effective youth development services. So proclaimed this second day of April 2019.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Stratton. We really appreciate that. So humbled by all the things that the Boys and Girls Club represent here in Douglas County. And you said some things that struck me. It says the purpose of this is to foster and help facilitate students or young folks achieve their full potential. That's important because they are the leaders of tomorrow. And you said another word that hit me so clearly: confidence. And in order to make things happen, you have to have that confidence to lead things forward in life. And I appreciate what you all do. I've visited last year. We had a big event at the Girls and Boys Club, and it was wonderful. So again, on behalf of the Board of Commissioners, we thank you, and also your amazing board, and also the employees of Boys and Girls Club, and what they're doing to mold and prepare our students and youth for tomorrow. Board of Commissioners, you have heard the proclamation. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Vice Chairman Robinson.
Yeah, I echo your sentiments, Madam Chair, regarding the Boys and Girls Club. While I didn't participate in one, I was obviously much younger before I moved to Douglas. I was shaped by the Boys Club, for that matter, and it was a great experience. I mean, so to this day, I'm a foosball expert, but it was a lot about confidence building. It was sort of being dropped into an environment with a lot of different people and having to cope with that, right? And again, raised by a single mother, only child, and I got dropped right in the middle of a lot of different environment, right? It was very, very different. And for me, that impacted me and its structure. And it wasn't just obviously about the recreation, but it was also about the academic and how to think and apply in sort of very diverse and different environments. So I appreciate what this represents because I was shaped by it at a much younger age. So thank you for what you're doing and continuing with this. I mean, here's, I guess, 40 years later for me, and it's still going strong. So thank you for carrying us forward. You are our leader. So thank you. Madam Chair, I yield.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second. Commissioners, please prepare to cast your votes. We have a 5-0 unanimous vote, and the motion carries. Congratulations. Do you have anyone here with you to take a
No,
photograph?
it's
So
just
you're going
me.
to come up with us?
Busy
okay?
day today for the rest of
Okay.
our board members.
Well, if you would come up and take a photograph with us, we would greatly appreciate it.
Which is your good side? You know we all have them.
Got it?
This is musical chairs. Thank you again, Mrs. Stratton, for coming in today and representing the Boys and Girls Club here in Douglas County. We appreciate everything that you do. Next, we'll move on to our public hearing, which is tab number 7, and is to consider amending Chapter 5 of the Douglas County Code of Ordinances related to community and feral cats. And we have Frances McMillan here this morning, the Director of Animal Services, to present. Thank you, Ms. Millen. Please.
You're welcome. I'm here today to talk about the need for a community cat program, and I wanted to talk about what this program would entail. We wanted to talk about what is a feral cat and how we plan to make them into community cats. There are 3 definitions that we use for feral cats. One is totally feral. It has no positive human contact. They're hidden. They're mistrusting. They won't allow you to touch them. Semi-feral, they have some positive human contact, but they're afraid of touch. They'll come out when you feed them, let you see them. And a converted feral, and they are past positive human contact. They may have been a scared, abandoned pet. And when cats come into the shelter, we do a pathway assessment on them. We would label them total feral or semi-feral. If it's converted feral, we'd give them time to decompress and see if an owner comes forward. We have too many cats and not enough homes in the county. When cats come in and they're semi-feral or feral, we don't have enough places to place them. We've tried very successfully to place them in barn programs to get them to be mousers to go out, but we simply don't have enough places to take them to. And they actually do better if they're returned to the environment that they came from. The cause is human neglect, particularly the failure to spay and neuter cats, allowing them to reproduce in the neighborhoods, and the tendency to abandon pets. Sometimes people have the cats and they reproduce and they move on and they can't take them with them, or they've become feral and they won't come to them any longer. The solution is easy as 1, 2, 3. trap, neuter, and return. We would trap each cat, transport it to the shelter, and then we would form a pathway assessment to make sure the cats are feral and they're not owned. We would neuter them or spay them, attest, vaccinate, and ear tip them, and then return them to the same place that was trapped with the blessing of the landowner, homeowner that they came from. This would decrease the overpopulation of feral cats by preventing the birth of more kittens, decrease objectionable behavior, yowling, roaming the neighborhood. They do this to attract mates, so if they're spayed and neutered, they would no longer need to do this, and spraying is a way for them to mark their territory. It improves the health of the cats, of the feral cats, but overall the cats in the neighborhood by deterring unvaccinated cats from moving into an area and spreading their disease to the tame cats that are in the area. It's the most effective and humane solution to the problem of cat overpopulation, and it also benefits the human population by creating a barrier from wild animals by reducing the amount of vermin in the area, so it keeps the raccoons and foxes more at bay, which are vector animals. Also helps the human population, because if the cats that are feral are vaccinated against rabies, then that's one more barrier to help us in the fight against rabies in the wildlife population. It's been asked in the past, and this has been programs that other areas have done, just eradicate the cats, just remove them from the area. But we found that this doesn't work. It's not 100% effective. It leads to a vacuum effect. So we take all the cats out of one area, and cats from other areas move into the territory, and the cat population soon repopulates as the numbers, due to the presence of edible refuse and rodents. So the cats just come back from other areas and move back in. So when we trap, neuter, and release and send them back into the community, they are able to hold their territory and decrease the population because they're not breeding. What happens if we do nothing? Well, as you can see, we have a lot of cats, and it's estimated that a pair of breeding cats and their offspring, under ideal conditions, could produce 420,000 offspring in a 7-year period. And all these cats aren't going to survive, but you can see the potential for the overpopulation if we do nothing. Resources that I've used to research this subject are Alley Cat Allies, Fix Our Ferals, Feral Cat Coalition, and Best Friends. They have a lot of information that we can use to help with our program and educate the public. How do we get started? We recommend an ordinance change. We need to define what a community cat is. That is a cat that has been sterilized and vaccinated for rabies and returned to its location. So the location in which it found shall not be considered abandonment. We have an abandonment clause in our ordinance, so we need to define that returning a cat to its colony will not be considered abandonment. Community cat is a free-roaming cat that may be cared for by one or more residents in the immediate area who are known or unknown. So when we trap the ferals, they may have somebody, they may not have somebody that's caring for them. The community cat would be distinguished from other cats by being sterilized, vaccinated, and ear-tipped. That removes the top portion in the straight line of their ear, and it's the universal sign of a feral cat, and that allows us to identify them in the future that they have been spayed and neutered and vaccinated. If we recapture them again with the program, we don't have to bring them in again. We can shake them back out and let them stay out in the environment they came from. The community cats would be exempt from licensing should we decide to license in the future, and certain stray and large provisions of the chapter. So they would be allowed to run at large. We would also define the community cat caretaker. That should be any person that should agree, tag, in accordance with our policies. They would feed the cats, observe them, make sure they have shelter, sanitary conditions, that they see a cat that's feral in the neighborhood, that they would alert us so we can sterilize, vaccinate, and ear tip. And the community cat caretakers would not be considered owners or harbors of community cats. Another ordinance suggestion change is impound free-roaming cats without identification would not be subject to the 3-day holding period. Right now in our ordinance, we have a 3-day holding period for strays that come in. This allows the owner time to come and reclaim their animal before we put them up for adoption. This, if a community cat comes in and it's feral, then we would waive the 3-day hold. This would allow us to immediately spay and neuter the animals and get them back out into the community. It would cut down our holding period time to allow our program to move more freely. Of course, we would do our pathway assessment when the animal come in to make sure that it is a feral cat. And if there's any question, it would be subject to the 3-day hold and allow owner time to move forward with that. There could be an instance where a cat is owned by somebody and someone doesn't come forward, and it happens even with the 3-day hold, and sometimes people come forward and we've already spayed and neutered their pet because at the end of the 3-day, and we haven't had complaints as of yet. They're like, wow, this is already done, thanks. So I don't think that's going to be a problem in the future, but we've definitely tried to make sure any owned animal is reunited with its owner. The ordinance change also gives us a way to apply for grants, because if we reduce our numbers, it allows us to become no-kill. Most of the animals we euthanize in the shelter are feral cats. We euthanized 315 last year. So we could get these back into the community with the blessing of a caretaker to help feed them, and that would reduce our numbers greatly, and we could be at our 90% live release rate. Our policy is to euthanize animals that only don't have a quality of life. Feral cats do have a quality of life if they're spayed and neutered and returned to their environment. So please ask that you consider this ordinance to help facilitate our goals of becoming as close to no-kill as we can, and help our animals have a good quality of life in Douglas County. And also, the ordinance would help us apply for grants to help us spay and neuter feral cats. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Director McMillan. Board of Commissioners, do you have any questions or comments before I open it up for a public hearing? Commissioner Guider.
Yes, Francis, just one clarification. We've always been told that if you feed a feral cat, he belongs to you, but that's not true, is it?
There's nothing in the ordinance that supports that. The ordinance states that after 3 days or 72 hours in the shelter, the animal reverts to the county.
I'm talking about just stray cats that come up on your property, and if you feed them, that does not mean that you have taken ownership of that cat.
No, it does not.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to clarify that, because a lot of people think that, so they don't feed the feral cats, and they too need some food too.
Yes,
so,
they do.
Thank you. I yield back.
Okay, thank you so much, Commissioner Guider. Well, Director McMillan, you can take a seat at this time, and we'll be calling you back up, so don't go too far. At this time, the public, this hearing is open to the public. Is there anyone here who would like to speak for this new? You ready? Four. Four. For this ordinance, anybody speaking for, on behalf?
On behalf, yes. I'm Susan Duncan, the president of Douglas County Humane Society. So, of course, we are very much behind spay and neutering all of the cats and dogs of Douglas County. We feel that this change will greatly help the shelter become a no-kill shelter. And by doing that, we also try to provide grants toward the shelter, and that'll open up other avenues for us to help support them, as well as them, to support themselves. Plus, through the Humane Society, and as we're trying to get fosters for the kittens that we know, kitten season is coming, it's very difficult to find people to take on those responsibilities. So if we can get to these cats before all of the kittens come, then it greatly reduces the amount of vet care that has to go on at the shelter. So it is cost effective to spay and neuter ahead of time, get this done, and put them back into the community. So we greatly appreciate you taking the time to consider this.
Okay, thank you so much. Anyone else to speak for this proposed code of ordinance? For. You speak, okay. Yes.
Yes. Good morning.
Good morning.
I think I know most of you. But I'm Cheryl McAuliffe. I live in Douglasville. And you probably, some of you know I used to work for the Humane Society of the United States. And this is a huge nationwide problem. They estimate between 80 and 100 million feral cats are in the United States. And it's just going to get worse. And with our weather in Georgia, it makes it perfect for the cats to breed. Just a couple of comments. Number one, we do have a cat rescue in Douglasville that saves about 500 cats a year, and then we still put down hundreds of feral cats at the shelter, unfortunately. I'd like to ask Francis if there is a plan to, and she and I've talked about this, is there a plan to microchip these cats so that you know where they come from? Is that a good or bad idea? And is there a public education component in this? Because that's really what we need. Most people will do the right thing. They understand, okay, we don't just need to feed cats, we need to cut down on the population, because when we don't, that's when people start misbehaving and poisoning and doing things like that that are very bad. So those were two questions, the education and the microchip. And I think if we get a hold on this, that it will really save the county money. In, it may take a year or two or three, but they did this in Columbus. Columbus got, I think it was a $500,000 grant, and they really were aggressive on this, and it almost eradicated the feral cat problem. So I appreciate your time, and thank you all for doing this and being so compassionate.
Thank you as well, Mrs. McCullough. Thank you so much for coming in. Anyone else want to speak for this proposed ordinance? Please state your name.
John Tomasky, 6000 Stewart Parkway, Douglasville. And I would speak for in the sense that obviously there is a need, but there are many needs. And being an economist, I realize that anything takes resources. So therefore there are costs. And when it comes to any issue, politicians have their own way of looking at things. However, economists will always look at the benefit versus the cost. So it depends upon the society. Depending upon the society, the social choice will be more or less strong to support certain programs or more or less weak. The polity is to try to get some, ideally, to get some accounting of those strengths of preferences for different ways in which public funds can be used to meet needs. So again, it's not a stark and simple thing, are you for or against? There are needs, and one will be for the general principle of meeting needs. But there are limited resources, and the resources have to be allocated according to the desirability in terms of the social consensus of particular needs. So I would suggest that you use that framework for making political decisions about social choices in order to best meet the perceived needs of any particular society at any particular time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Tomasky. Okay, anyone else for? Okay, and then I'll.
Good morning. I'm
Good
Vanessa
morning.
Franzikowski. I'm the kennel manager, and I work with the vet care team at the shelter. One of the things that I did want to bring up is the cost of care for vet needs. So a lot of these animals, we're charged with taking care of these animals when they come in through our building, regardless if they're feral, stray, owned, whatnot. We vet them, we take care of them, make sure that they're living a basic good quality health of life. With ferals, when they come in with all sorts of health conditions. If we don't take care of them, we're releasing sick animals back into the community. And if you are aware now that we have rabies, an active rabies case for raccoons, if we're releasing these cats without vetting them and taking care of them and then just dumping them back off without us doing our due diligence, we're increasing this risk of spreading throughout Douglas County. You know, already these cats are not wanted cats. A lot of them were owned cats that nobody just wanted to take care of. They dumped them out. They were too much of a responsibility. So what we do is we take care of them. The vet costs and the financial aspect, we're trying not to drain the economy. We're trying not to drain Douglas County. Our goal is to go ahead and by 2019, the end of this year, be at that 10%, which creates us being a no-kill shelter. When we get that 10% status, we get grants. You get $1 million. You get $500,000. That takes the financial burden off of the county. We're getting these grants because places like Petco, PetSmart, Maddie's Fund, they're looking at us as essential to say, okay, these guys work their butts off to go ahead and get us at a no-kill status. Let's help them out. That money helps for vetting our animals. Right now, we're spaying and neutering anything that comes in our building. You know, we're reducing that population, but we want to take it a step further and help get our feral cats, you know, taken care of, sterilized. This way, you stop that cycle of them coming in every time. We're trying to hit it before it gets worse. You know, we're in the month of April, and we've already had 4 litters of kittens. You know, every cat that's coming in is pregnant. You know, we're trying to stop this so that we're reducing the taxpayer dollars. We're reducing the burden on the community, but we're also benefiting the community because if we're going to release cats, we're going to release cats that are healthy, not spreading infection. We're testing them, giving them rabies vaccinations. We're ear tipping them so we know that they've already been fully vetted. And the microchips, yes, they're going to be traced. You know, we are trying to do our due diligence to help. We're charged with caring for these guys. We're charged with making sure they're in the best quality of life. And that's what we're trying to do.
Thank you so much. Thank you. All right. Anybody else for before I move to the next? Okay. You have, okay, please come forward.
Hi, I'm Andrea Moldovan. I know some of you, I'm an attorney here in town. I do a lot of volunteer work at the shelter. I just wanted to clarify something for the commissioners and the public, and that would be that this would allow the animal control to take the responsibility of trapping and neutering. We all see cats, feral cats. Most people are not going to trap the cat and take it up to the shelter. This is a way to, you know, make sure that this gets done. Additionally, the no-kill status is extremely important. And if you want to just look at finances as suggested by the gentleman that was just up here, if the shelter is at no-kill and they get the benefit of these grants, it's not coming out of the county's pocket. So I think that needs to be looked at very carefully. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comment. All right, anybody else for? Anyone against this proposed ordinance? Please come forward and state your name and give us your address.
Didn't know I'd get to speak twice today. It's unusual. Larry Pierce, 4120 Van Sant Road, Douglasville, Georgia. I want to apologize if y'all misunderstood me when I spoke earlier. I surely didn't mean that there was a decision to be made about that 20,000. I was just trying to say where it maybe could be found.
Mr. Pierce,
okay.
We need to focus on this
Yes.
public hearing.
I am definitely against changing, modifying, or anything whatsoever on this cat situation. Now, Mr. Mitchell said yesterday, how do you tell a personal cat from a feral cat? Well, I don't know. Maybe I ought to ask God when he created a cat. Because let me tell you something about a cat. I don't have a cat. Most cats are owned by women. Don't ask me why, but they are. Now, I'm going to tell you about a cat that I bought for a lady friend. I bought it at the old place by the dump for $35. Her cat went off and died, and cats do that. They don't hang around the house. For some reason, they disappear and die. All right, I get her a cat. I thought it was neutered. What do I know about cats? Not much. I carry it to her. And her cat goes out and finds Tom. No, Tom is looking for girls. And within a few weeks, her cat's pregnant. Cat hides, can't find it. Cats on the average have between 5 and 6 and 7. All right. She said, Larry, they're all over my feet. Will you please take the cat back and take the little ones with you? I said, sure, Betty, I'll be glad to do it. Do you want another one? Not a full-grown one, I don't. So I go over here to the new place where they're at, and I bring the cat in a box. The cat got out while I was driving across the Chattahoochee River, and they came out and said, have you got a cat? I said, I sure do, but the mama's outside the box in my van. So they put on these leather chaps here and there, mask and all, and they looked like somebody was going to rodeo. So they open the door in the van, and that cat is going, and I'm here to tell you, you cannot catch a cat when it don't want to be caught. If you ever make a woman mad, the first time is a little voice. The second time is her arms. And when she starts crying, you better get your keys and leave. So they got in my van, and it was the funniest thing to behold. The cat roamed around my van, and 3 of them was trying to catch it. The cat got out between the legs and ran to the corner of the chain link fence. And all 3 of them said, we got it now. They surrounded the cat. You never saw a cat climb a fence so fast. And then it went to the woods. She asked me, she said, Mr. Pierce, is this your cat? I'm going to finish it right now.
Okay, wrap it
Is this your cat? I said, no. She said, where's it from? I said, it's across the river from Fulton County. She
Okay.
said, we've got 350 cats. We cannot take your cat. I said, well, how do you tell a cat from one county to the other? How do you tell a person is a Democrat or a Republican? I don't know. But cats don't need to be roaming around in your car or my car
Mr.
or
Pierce.
good neighbor policy.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Pierce. We appreciate you. Anyone else against this proposed ordinance? Okay. With that being said, this public hearing is now closed. Director McMillan, if you could come back to the podium. Board of Commissioners, at this time, do you have any questions or comments for Director McMillan? Commissioner Guider, I saw you first, and then Vice Chairman Al.
Yes,
Take it back.
Francis, could you answer the 2 questions that were brought up by Cheryl?
Yes. On the microchips, we plan to microchip the cats. Data Mars, our microchip company that we use, has donated 75 microchips. They've also given us special pricing on microchips. They will be $2.98 a piece for each cat to be microchipped. That allows us to track them in the system. Allows us to track their rabies vaccinations or vaccinations. So if they happen to come back into the shelter, we can assess their needs from there. It also allows an officer, if they pick them up in the field, to return them to where they need to be and track exactly how many cats have been serviced by the program. The second question?
Education.
Education.
Yes.
We do plan to educate. We have flyers available. Best Friends has helped us a lot, and they have a lot of educational material that we can customize for our county. And they also allow us to post on their website and give their links out. So we will be rolling out an education program if this ordinance is approved. The ordinance gives us the ability to start the educational program and advertise for this program and let the public know about the need to spay and neuter the cats in order to control them within the county.
Thank you. I yield back.
Okay, thank you so much, Commissioner Guida. Vice Chairman Robinson?
Yeah, a couple of statements and maybe one comment. So I'm going to pick back up on, again, I've shared it in times past. I'm a third generation, cat. My great-grandmother, grandmother, mother all had cats. So that's all I was raised around. And as much as I probably will need a seeing eye dog in my future, I want a cat. And unfortunately, the two are not compatible unless you can find me some Himalayans. That being said, I heard the statistic talk about 80 to 100 million cats nationwide. All right, it's 330 million Americans. I said, okay, 1 out of every 3. Pretty nice population, right? I'm trying to put things in context. And we talk about okay, but how long have cats been around? And this is policy, right? My job is not to be transactional like sometimes it's suggested by some of the things that we have to face. Every now and then you've got to have a position. Unfortunately, we're not, at the state level, we don't have to deal with, obviously the heartbeat bill and stuff. But at the same point, it's like, okay, so here we are, and we're culling animals, right? We're controlling population. Now, we're local level, but I'm like, I'm listening to the arguments. Yes, this is a social issue. And I said, Now look at how our thinking as society at a local level applies to animals. And it's like, interesting, right? So we're pulling in the animal population. We're trying to control a certain segment of it, right? There's always, but I try to weigh it, well, what's the antithesis if we didn't do it, right? What are we really saying? I get the suggestion that we want to make the numbers and get certified and get the grants. So you guys all know I get that. I get the economic side. I'm listening to the social argument, right? And I like to listen to citizens from all walks. I like both sides. I love it because I can actually comprehend it. I'm like, interesting, huh? And so I say that it says that, okay, since we're focusing on feral, which is one population, which I do get it, what about all the other animals that are not necessarily feral, that are, and I get the feral, which may have the most exposure. I get that, but what about the rest? I know we've had conversations about population. Our beautiful $5 million animal shelter, top of the art. I get it, we've been there, but we max out. We ebb and flow based on it. You guys operationally have it, but what about the other animals, specifically the other cats that are not feral?
The cats that come in are tame.
Yep.
Are also spayed and neutered. We received a $6,100 grant from the Department of Agriculture to spay and neuter animals, and we accumulated $31,000 in donations last year to help spay and neuter the animals. So our program is that before animals are adopted out, we spay and neuter them. Right now, we have approximately 167 animals in the shelter. With the exceptions of the ones that are on stray hold, all but 5 of those are spayed and neutered. So we have a complete animal available for adoption at the shelter, so the citizen can come in and adopt and pick up their animal. It's already spayed, it's already neutered, it's already vaccinated. So we have pathway assessments on each of those animals that come in also. This one's available for adoption, this one needs work, this one needs medical. We have to do a behavioral assessment on this one to see if it needs to go to a rescue or a citizen. So we control the minutes they come in and try to move them through our shelter as fast as we can. Yep. And excuse me, with the feral cats, it's just, this would be one more tool to allow us to provide a pathway for them like we do for our other animals. We do tend to run full capacity at our shelter, and this would help us with the tame cats that are in the shelter because we're not having to house ferals for 3 days to see if somebody comes forward, we can get them back. So this program helps the available adoptable cats that are in our program too.
Okay. All right. Okay, I get it. I mean, again, I'm listening and I'm processing through, again, I understand that humans are at the top of the food chain on how we relate to all other animals. I get the, animals don't have instinct. I mean, they just have instinct. They don't have the intelligence that we have. They don't have life versus choice, consciousness to be able to make decisions. And so I'm sitting here and I'm listening. I'm like, interesting how we're approaching this and how we sit. So that being said, I'm going to, that's it. I get it. I know where I'm going to vote. And I yield, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Any other? Commissioner Mitchell.
Yes, I'll just first say thanks for being a voice for the animals and for those of you that are speaking out for those animals that don't have a chance to kind of make that known what they are and what they do and how they do what they do. I'm a little confused as to one of the statements about who we are attracted to more: cats, dogs, goldfish. I'm a little baffled by that, but here nor there. My bigger question is this, though. Please explain your process that you spoke about earlier yesterday as to how you would do this process, because I made a couple of comments in reference to my concern about it, and you addressed it, and I want to just, for the public, and you did it yesterday, please do that once again.
Okay. Well, when cats enter the shelter, we do a pathway assessment.
Yes.
And we do a behavioral assessment on each cat. Each animal in the shelter, actually, we look at each animal and we ask that animal, what do you need from us? Much like you would a patient in a hospital. So this animal needs vaccines. We take their temperatures. We do a tip-to-tail inspection. If they need medical, we get medical care for them. If they're feral, we would label them as feral. If they're not feral and they're just angry at that time, we give them a cooling down period. I mean, if we can lay hands on them, they may not truly be feral. So we would place them under their stray hold and, give an owner a chance to come forward. But we do a pathway on each animal that comes in. And this allows them to move through our system as quickly as possible. Ideally, we'd like to have a 2-week turnaround on each animal that comes in, get them back to the owners, get them their medical care, get them out for adoption, get them out for TNR so that we can process the animals. And that allows us to handle the same volume of animals without having the high populations that we have now.
Good. And again, I know we spoke about this yesterday, but legal did step in and say, from what you see, Ken, I know Ken is having another conversation down there, but that legal has actually had a chance to kind of review and bless this ordinance change. Correct, Ken?
We're fine with it.
Okay.
As far as how it's drafted, if that's what you're asking. Yeah.
Right. That's correct. But outside of that, again, job well done. I think this is definitely needed. And again, for those who like cats, like animals, period, and I'm one of those. So I'm glad that we've got somebody out there that's really the cheerleaders for these animals to make sure that they're taken care of. So again, thank you, and thank you guys for what you do and the board that you sit on, and you as the director for speaking up for the animals. Again, thank you, and I yield back.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other comment? Okay, I would just like to close by saying thank you all so much. I love animals as well. I am a pensive listener, and I've listened to all the responses and comments. My background is healthcare. Certainly, I love the idea of that, you call it pathway. In healthcare, we call it a clinical pathway. That tells me that you're triaging and looking at all the things that need to be assessed. We appreciate that, and that tells me that you're giving our animals tender, loving care as you put them back into their environment. And so that really sustains life. And you talked about something that really hit me. You said it reduces our euthanasia rate. And that's important, and that's something that we wanted to strive for, to make sure that we are saving our animals here in Douglas County. So I'm very appreciative of all the hard work, and you said some things that are very clear to me: research. And it's very obvious that you did your research and your homework, and you benchmark with some other counties. If you could just state those counties that are already on board in the state of Georgia to allow our citizens to be apprised of what's going on with these other counties. Thank you.
Yes, Carroll County has a successful program. They've been doing it for a couple years now. We talk to our other counties quite often. Paulding County just recently, in the last few months, passed an ordinance and they said it has reduced their numbers of cats in the shelter and number of euthanasias significantly. I think they've been doing it for about 4 months now. Lifeline Animal Shelter that runs the cab and Fulton. And Atlanta Humane does it. So we have a lot of counties surrounding us that are doing it, and they've had successful programs. And we've talked to all of them with our research and found out what works.
Okay. Well, thank you. Any other questions from the Board of Commissioners? Board of Commissioners, you have heard this public hearing. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? We have a motion and a second. Please prepare to cast your votes. We have a 5-0 unanimous vote, and the motion carries. Congratulations and thank you. And as you go out and save our animals, we're most appreciative. Thank you. Well, next we'll move to our next business. We have a business item next on the agenda, which is tab number 8, authorization to amend the GEPCOR Defined Benefit Plan Agreement for Douglas County employees to provide for a 5-year vesting provision applicable to grant-funded contract employees and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Board of Commissioners, do we have a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? We have a motion and a second. Please prepare to cast your votes. We have a 5-0 unanimous vote, and the motion carries. Next, we have old business, and the Board of Commissioners, I would like to extend a motion for us to untable tab number 9.
So moved as requested.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of this item being untabled, please. Can we vote on this? Verbal. Okay, verbal. Please indicate by raising your right hand saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, okay, the motion carries. All opposed the same, and the motion carries. Thank you so much. All right, tab number 9. I will go in and would like to authorization to create a new juvenile programs position for juvenile justice incentive grant project manager to be funded by the Juvenile Justice Incentive Grant, Criminal Justice Coordinating Council grant. Do we have a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Commissioner Guider.
Just for clarification, is this for a full-time or part-time? Because there was a lot of discussion before about both.
I believe it's a full-time.
Okay, could the record so note that, please? Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please prepare to cast your votes. We have a 5-0 unanimous vote, and the motion carries. Board of Commissioners, we will do the same thing for tab number 10. I will untable. So do we have a motion to untable tab number 10?
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on it? We have a motion and a second. Please indicate by raising your right hand saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, all right. The motion carries, and all opposed the same. And again, the motion carries. All right, tab number 10, I will read it. Authorization to approve a contract for Christine Callahan for the project manager for the Juvenile Justice Incentive Grant Programs, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Do we have a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? We have a motion and a second. Please prepare to cast your votes. We have a 5-0 unanimous vote, and the motion carries. Board of Commissioners, next, we will move to the consent agenda. Tabs number 11 through 26, I will read. All items are subject to final legal review. Tab number 11, authorization to create a new full-time juvenile assistant DA position. Tab number 12, authorization to approve an easement agreement with HAB Group LLC and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Tab number 13, authorization to apply for a juvenile justice incentive grant fiscal year 20 with Criminal Justice Coordinating Council in the approximate amount of $210 with no match required, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Tab number 14, authorization to apply for a supplemental furniture and technology grant from Criminal Justice Coordinating Council Accountability Court Programs in the approximate amount of $6,000 with no match required, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Tab number 15, authorization to allow the Metro Atlanta Firefighters Conference to utilize the Arrington Fire EMS Training Facility for its annual conference scheduled for May 15 through 18, 2019, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Tab number 16, authorization to enter into a planned service agreement with Johnson Controls for Boundary Waters Aquatic Center for the period of May 1st, 2019 through April 30th, 2020 at a cost of $5,965.44, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Tab number 17, authorization to accept an emergency supplemental subgrant award accountability court grant from Criminal Justice Coordinating Council in the approximate amount of $54,878 and amend the budget with no match required. Tab number 18, authorization for the Felony Accountability Court Office, Department 234, to hire full-time executive assistant with benefits to be funded through existing funds within the department's budget. Tab number 19, authorization to approve a contract with Carbine for the Public Safety C-Light E911 call solution, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Tab number 20, authorization to amend the contract with Bold Planning and to add the multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan updated at a cost of $25,000, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Tab number 21, approval of claims for property tax refunds for Rucker Riverside in the amount of $14,478.85, and PPC Realty LLC in the amount of $15,982.11 as recommended by the Board of Assessors. Tab number 22, authorization to approve a change order number 1 with C.W. Matthews in the amount of $86,158.85 for additional quantities of materials and field modifications required for the Stewart Mill and Yancey Road intersection improvement project funded through 2002 SPLOST funds, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Tab number 23, authorization to approve an agreement to purchase real estate to acquire the required right-of-way and easements on parcel 01580250049 located at 2948 Bright Star Road in connection with the John West Bright Star Road intersection improvement project funded through 2016 SPLOST funds, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Tab number 24, authorization to approve an agreement to purchase real estate to acquire the required right-of-way easements and parcel for number 01580250003 located at 2963 Bright Star Road in connection with the John West Bright Star Road intersection improvement project funded through the 2016 SPLOST funds, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Tab number 25, authorization to approve an intergovernmental agreement with the City of Douglasville to install a northbound right turn lane on Highway 5 at Douglas Boulevard, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. And tab number 26, authorization to approve change order number 1 with Los Design in the amount of $6,500 for additional services related to park renovations funded through the 2016 SPLOST funds, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Board of Commissioners, that concludes our consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved as asked.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on any particular item? Okay. Vice Chairman Robinson?
Sure, I'll be, no necessarily questions to staff, it's more of a statement, so you're okay. I want to talk to 17 and 18, this dealt with our conversation yesterday during the work session regarding accountability of courts. And again, I'm going to continue with this premise about Board of Commissioners, what is our priority for support? There's always the conversation about equality versus equity. All the Board of Commissioners have one vote. It's equal. But the distribution of tax dollars isn't equitable, right? It's balanced. It's percentage, right? We may have 30 directors and 5 constitutional and all of that. $10 over need, $1. Who sets the priority? Who gets the dollars? I understand we want to advocate for everyone, but on any given time, well, it's not your turn this time. It's someone else's. And that's based on the will, and the collective will and consensus of the Board of Commissioners, right? So at the end of the day, I take the position that, as it relates to what my vote, I believe that mental health, mental illness, anything regarding accountability court, anything regarding criminal justice is a priority. It doesn't bend, it doesn't move, it's consistent, right? Each one of us will take a position. I always tell people, young or old, when they get in this, take a position, right? Build allies, work with others, try to get stuff done, right? As it relates to the accountability courts, be assured, Judge Bo McLean and Tim Pruitt, who's the director over there, that you continue to have my support regarding this. I will challenge you to continue to think beyond just today. Like, okay, we agreed when we first did accountability courts, if we get involved in this, we got to be all in, right? Regardless of how the hybrid model comes out, and it's not an absolute, we have to sustain this, right? And so with that, it's a long-term planning. This is, okay, we got to get ahead of this. Okay, we got to, like, okay, there's a housing component. All right, we know the distributed model amongst the neighborhoods. You have some people, I don't want it in my backyard. Okay, whatever, right? The states are not, they don't believe that concentrating them in hotels and stuff is the best model. That's why they're getting out of the institutional big box model. I'm like, okay, how is this going to play out? I appreciate the creative models, but at some point we're going to have to take a position, right? This is policy, and we'll work through those things. So that being said, I think it's something that we'll look at. We'll have very strong, mature debates regarding it, and I look forward to that. My second thing that I want to cover, well, you know what? That took about 3 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and yield, Madam Chair. I'm good. I yield.
Okay, thank you, Vice Chairman Robinson. Commissioner Guider, you have anything? Okay, Commissioner Guider.
Yes. On number 19, and I'm going to ask Director Milholland to come up here with his guess and explain this to the public, exactly what it is.
This is our Carbine Next Generation 911 call handling solution. This is an addition to our AT&T call handling and all of our current equipment that we use at E911 now to locate callers. As we talked about yesterday in the work session, most of the time we can locate a caller, and there's not any problem with that. But every now and again, through technology, we do run into problems where we have caller location problems.
You gave an example yesterday, if you would kind of reiterate that.
There was a call several years ago in Alpharetta where a young lady drowned in a car because they could not find her, and that's a news story that continues to be recycled. And if, as I said yesterday, I can't say for a fact that they could have found her with this call handling solution, but I feel like we would have a better tool to be able to locate her with this solution, and it would give us another ability, more latitude, longitude, X, Y, and future Z coordinates to be able to locate calls that just won't plot on our equipment for whatever vendor reason, whatever telecom issue. This system actually works across county lines too. I gave an example yesterday that we were able to locate a hit and run victim in Fulton County that had no idea where she was. So it doesn't recognize boundaries like conventional equipment when it comes to county boundaries. If this is in place, as I said, we have tested this since January, and to date we have located a caller who was intoxicated and was obviously needing to get off of the roadway. We've recorded a very heated assault, domestic disturbance that the caller was able to provide video to us. This system is, as we talked about yesterday, it is when we talk about next generation 911 is the ability for 911 centers to be able to receive JPEG, MPEG, videos, audio, be able to take that information, cycle it through our processes and send it back to the field units or to the field agencies. This is the very first entry that we are actually doing into that. We're doing text to 911 currently, where you can text 911 if you have a call, and that's worked out well for us. But this is the next step in the process of Next Gen 911. And as we talked about yesterday, this system, most people are calling 911, they want to be located. And this is utilized when our conventional equipment doesn't work, when our wireless plot, our phase 1 and phase 2, Annie and Alley locations don't work. This is another tool in our toolbox, as we talked about yesterday, that we can send the caller a text message, and the caller is in control of this call. And most of the time, to our tests so far, we have said, we're about to send you a text message because we need to know exactly where you are, and they're waiting on it. So they have the option to accept or decline the text message.
So it's done with their approval?
It's done with their approval.
To open up their phone?
Yes, ma'am.
To use the camera and
Yes,
whatever,
ma'am.
in case of an emergency?
In case of an emergency. Yeah. And once they accept that text message, now they can decline. We had a caller decline yesterday.
Okay.
It was a call in progress where we had been articulating our information to this caller, and this caller was communicating back to us, but it was something in progress. And although she was very cooperative and wanted to help, there was a situation where she could not respond at that time. So for whatever reason, she declined. But at the end of the call, the perpetrator was apprehended. But sometimes people won't be able to accept it, and we understand that. But if they can accept it, what that does is that opens up the video portal, as you said. So we have the video on the camera. If they don't know where they are, we can see what's going on. We can recognize something. But even if we can't recognize it, we get the XY coordinates. We get the latitude and the longitude, which plots to our map, and we're able to find them. And as we talked about yesterday, this is probably, the dispatcher has the option to view the video. And we're going to get calls in progress, some things that most people, the people out in the field have to see every day, but the dispatchers don't have to see now. We just have to hear. And now this is going to open up, as I said yesterday, a new psychology, I believe, in the 911 center, to where once these dispatchers see these things in progress, these calls that we get, for whatever we get, they're going to have to deal with that. But it's going to give us the ability to take this information, these videos, and be able to export them back to the public safety responders in the field. So that, for example, if we get a lookout on armed robbery, if we've got video on armed robbery, not only are we putting this out over the radio, the lookout for the police and the law enforcement agencies, we can also send the video. So now that they've got something else to go on, because lookouts are lookouts, and they can be perception based sometimes but when you've got something to actually look at it, it would help an officer. If maybe they don't understand the color of the car or the lookout, the make or model of the car, because there's so many now. Maybe they heard the lookout with the car,
but if there's a video,
yeah, now they know what they're looking for.
This could greatly help law enforcement and first responders and everything. But as far as the funding, it comes out of your budget, which is an enterprise type thing.
Yes, ma'am.
Where the fees from the 911 on the telephone bills goes to you and goes to your department, and you're using those funds to purchase this, right?
Yes, ma'am. And I did not mention yesterday in the work session, but I did introduce Chad LeBrie. He is with Carbine. He is one of the representatives. We are receiving this at a 90% discounted rate on what this usually costs.
90?
Yes, ma'am, 90. This is usually almost a $60,000 implementation of software. And as you can see, it is $6,000 for us.
That is great,
That's
fantastic. We appreciate that. All right, I just wanted you to kind of explain this to the public, and I thank you for coming forward.
Yes,
All
ma'am. Thank you. Happy to answer any more questions.
Okay. I would also like to discuss one other item, I think. Item number 25, authorization to approve an intergovernmental agreement with the city of Douglasville. Sometimes it doesn't hurt to ask, and we're, the right turn lane that's going northbound right there at the new renovated shopping center is badly needed. And we asked the city if, since it's both in the county and the city, if they would come on board, and they readily agreed to it. So we're splitting the cost, so that that's a fantastic way of funding some of these projects within the city limits of Douglasville or Villa Rica, really. Just wanted to kind of piggyback on Commissioner Robinson. We all approve of the accountability courts. We've all supported them through the years and everything. We may differ in our opinions on how things should be done, but we all support them. And they've been very successful, and we will continue to support them. And with that, I yield back.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Guider. Commissioner Carthen, you had a
Yes, I would like to discuss tab 12, authorization to approve an easement agreement with HAV Group LLC.
That'd be the Gale.
Which one?
Director. Oh, that would be.
That would be Ken.
That'd be Ken. Yes. Thank you, Ken. Our legal counsel.
Sorry.
Number 12, authorization,
12.
the easement agreement.
Okay.
So my question to you is, I'm reading the contract, and it says, let's see, the cost of this easement agreement. It says, now therefore in consideration of the amount and other good and valuable. My contract says $10. Is that correct?
No, it's, that is 60,000. Many times, there's two different parts to this. One is the actual easement agreement, and the other one is the easement itself. I think that's an earlier draft. Typically, you don't show on the recorded deed the actual payout. What you show is consideration of any sort, either $1 or $10, another good and valuable consideration. But this transaction is a $60,000 payment to the county in exchange for a non-exclusive easement to access Earl D. Lee Boulevard, I think it's called, so that folks coming out of this potential restaurant site that used to be Kenny's and Shoney's many years ago can make left turns by hitting Earl D. Lee and then hit the light, as opposed to try to cross Fairburn Road and go out to the left. But it's a non-exclusive easement, and it will be for $60,000. What's on your draft is, there's two different documents, and I'm sorry, my computer's down, but it's $60,000.
Okay.
They will sign an agreement for 60. What gets recorded in the real estate records may show $10 and other good and valuable consideration, because you don't have to state the full consideration in the recorded deed. And that's probably, that got transposed on what you're seeing in an earlier draft.
Okay. Thank you for clearing that up. And my other item that I would like to discuss is tab number 22, authorization to approve change order number with C.W. Matthews in the amount of $86,000.
Director Valentine.
Director.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This item related to the construction project has a number of changes of quantities Most of the changes are related to additional sidewalk, additional curbing, things that were required in order to tie into the existing infrastructure in the area. One of the things that we found was a discrepancy between the actual field conditions and what the plans indicated from their original survey. There were changes over the years. This is a very long-standing project. And so what this change order will do is essentially bring us up to date in terms of all of the changes, all of the things that we need to adjust out in the field to be able to move the project along. We're pretty far along on that project, and so hopefully there won't be too many other changes, if any. Our goal will be that with this, we should be able to finish out the project, but I can't guarantee that I will not be back with some other needed changes to get the project completed. But at this point, we do not anticipate there be anything significant that will come up.
So my question to you is, yesterday we were questioning where this $86,000 is coming from. Was that ever cleared up?
Yes, that has been cleared up. It is going to be coming from the 2002 SPLOST fund. Okay. And Jennifer and I got together and we were able to reconcile the fact that that there is funding available for the project, so for this change order.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
I yield back, Commissioner.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Carthen. I believe Commissioner Mitchell, you have something? Okay. Well,
Madam Chair, can I just clarify something?
yes.
I think what's in, to answer Commissioner Carthon's, I've gone back and checked just to make sure. The title is a little bit misleading. There's an easement agreement that actually, that's not in your computer, that has the actual $60,000 and has all the terms and conditions of the transfer. And then there's a grant of easement, which is basically a one-page conveyance document. The conveyance document will show $10 and other good and valuable consideration, but it references the easement agreement, which lays out the $60,000. Okay, and so because those got updated late, they did not get in your computer.
All right,
okay.
Thank you.
But it is correct, I promise.
Okay.
All right, Board of Commissioners, we have a motion and a second. Please prepare to cast your votes regarding this consent agenda. We have a 5-0 unanimous vote and the motion carries. Okay, we'll move on to our next item, which would be announcements, and I would like to yield to both of commissioners, Commissioner Robinson and also Commissioner Mitchell, so they could talk about their upcoming meetings or town hall meetings. Commissioner Mitchell, if you could talk about your coffee and conversation.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Madam Chair. I've got my next coffee and conversation at Christ Apostolic Life Church at 8510 Newman Street in Douglasville. As we all know, it'll be Saturday, April 6th from 10 until noon. I don't know why we got 12 here, 10 until noon. And again, as always, I provide the coffee and you provide the conversation. This should be a great time to come out and have conversations with myself, and there's sometimes special guests to include yourself. And I don't really bring a topical item to speak on, but I'm prepared to do so. However, I just like to kind of hear what the citizens really want to speak on in reference to whatever the topic of discussion is. So again, that'll be at Christ Apostolic Life Church, 8510 Newman Street in Douglasville, Georgia, from 10 until 12 noon. Come join me and enjoy the conversation. I yield back.
Okay, thank you so much, Commissioner. Commissioner Robinson, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'll keep this moving on. Wednesday, April 17th, I'm having my spring town hall that's dedicated to Lee Road. I'm being accompanied by two of my colleagues, District Commissioner Henry Mitchell and District 3 Commissioner Trina Carthen. We're going to address all the phases of Lee Road that the citizens have asked about, both where have we been, where are we at, and where are we going with this. we've gotten feedback recently regarding Lee Road. I mean, obviously, anybody that has followed our meetings knows I've heard certain things regarding it, and we just want to clear the air and set expectations regarding the future. So it'll be on Wednesday, April 17th, 2019 at 6 o'clock at Deer Lick Park off of Mack Road in Fairburn. We will have some refreshments that I am providing for us out of my expense account. I look forward to all of y'all coming out and I'm hearing this again from 6 to 8 on Wednesday, April 17, 2019 at Deer Lick Park. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you so much, Vice Chairman Robinson. Commissioner Carthen, I believe you have an announcement as well. I'd like to give you the opportunity.
Thank you. On Tuesday, April 23rd, I will have a town hall for District 3. My guests will be Douglas County DOT Department. They will be asking for your input on the Chapel Hill Sidewalk project that is upcoming soon. So we want to get citizens' input, how this may impact or not impact your ride down Chapel Hill. So that meeting will start at 5 o'clock. It is scheduled to take place at Studio T, which is 4040 Chapel Hill Road in Douglasville, right across from Chapel Hill Middle School. So we look forward to everybody coming out. It's from 5 to 7 p.m. At 5 p.m., the citizen input for the Chapel Hill Sidewalk project begins, and then at 6 p.m. sharp, I will start to talk about the splots and the other information that I think citizens would be aware of. So we invite you out. Thank you. I yield.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Carthen. Commissioner Guida, you have an announcement?
I would just like to reiterate that the fact that we've opened the new disc golf course out at Dog River in District 4, and I understand it's a very challenging course because there's lots of trees that they didn't cut down and everything. So come out and enjoy playing disc golf. I need lessons on the rules. I play regular golf with a ball, and this is done with the disc, but it's a good way to enjoy the outdoors. So come on out. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Commissioner Guider. Next, I will ask our Director of Communications to wrap up the last two announcements that we do have on our agenda.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Board of Commissioners, staff. Last two announcements worthy of mentioning. The Douglas County Special Olympics annual event is taking place at New Manchester High School, 4925 Highway 92, 166, and it's happening on April 4th. Track and field events for individuals with special needs in Douglas County will be happening. The public is welcome and invited to attend. Admission is free, no cost at all. For further information, the Douglas County School System, Leanne Lowen, is the point of contact. Last but not least, the Douglas County Department of External Affairs is now accepting applications for Douglas County Citizens Academy through May 15th, 2019. It's a very popular academy where citizens are welcome to attend. It's a 10-week interactive program offered once a year that encourages civic engagement and enhances dialogue between county officials and citizens. The Citizens Academy meets once a week on Tuesday evenings, and will start on June 10th of this year. For more information, please contact the External Affairs Department at 770-920-7593. That's 770-920-7593. Thank you, Madam Chair, Board of Commissioners. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Director Martin, for that wrapping up our announcements. Well, Board of Commissioners, any other comments before? All right. Well, thank you for a very good meeting today. Everything went extremely well, and I appreciate you. And if there's nothing else to come before this body, this meeting is adjourned.